Pretty Girl Club. I wanted to make this video about decentering men while you're in a relationship. For those of you who are new to my channel, you will see that I have an entire Decentering Men series on here. I talk about all aspects of decentering men, anywhere from decentered dating all the way to the 4B movement. So there's pretty much something for everyone on this channel. The reason I talk about decentering men is because this channel also talks about colorism, texturism, featureism, and racism, as well as pretty privilege. And the way to overcome insecurities about those areas of your life is to go on a journey of decentering men and decentering the male gaze, because a lot of your insecurities about your physical appearance, your skin tone, your hair texture, a lot of these insecurities come from basing your self-esteem and your beauty on what a man thinks of you or on whether or not you're in a relationship. So that's why I talk about decentering men. But in this episode, I want to discuss being in a relationship with a man and decentering him. Is it possible to do that? Is that a thing? I say yes, it is. Anybody can go on a decentering men journey. I don't care if you are old, if you're young, or if you're married with kids. The whole concept of decentering men is about taking back your power. It's about taking back your identity and your sense of self, because one of the things that society does is it teaches us to value a man's love more than other forms of love, such as self-love or friendship love or the love between you and your children. So this is why we have pick me moms who allow their husbands to like touch on their kids and stuff, or we've got moms who are willing to sacrifice their own well-being for the sake of a man. And so the decentering men movement is really about getting yourself out of these unfair, abusive types of situations. So if you are on maybe the beginning of the decentering men spectrum, these are the women who are interested in dating from a decentered perspective, or you're interested in things like hypergamy or hypergamous marriage. I still consider that to be decentering men, because you're decentering about 90% of the male population by even dating hypergamously to begin with. Or let's say you're only dating men who make over $100,000 or something. Around 87% of men in the United States make less than $100,000 per year. So if you're aiming for a guy who has an income that is around that range or higher, that's a form of decentering men, because you're eliminating almost 90% of American men from your dating pool. But one of the ways that you can begin going on this journey is by thinking about your wants and desires and making sure that your needs are always getting met. So I know that people have smoke for hypergamy content creators. They'll say things like, oh, well, what does the woman bring to the table? Well, it's about a woman trying to get her needs met, because her presence is the table. That's kind of the whole concept. And so as women, we don't want to date men who are like an emotional and financial drain on our lives. And we also understand that men do not love unconditionally. Some would even go as far as to say that men are not even capable of love whatsoever. That's more the 4B women. But if you want to date from a decentered perspective, one of the things you can do is be realistic about men and be realistic about their nature. It's getting out of this Disney fairy tale mindset and really asking yourself, what do I want? Like, what is going to sustain this relationship when the love runs out? Because first of all, let's talk about love for a moment. What does love mean to you? Because a lot of times when people describe falling in love or being in love, it's really about a certain set of emotions that you have towards that man. So you feel like he's physically attractive and he has all these good qualities. But the thing about emotions is that emotions are very fickle. And also your thoughts create your emotions. So whatever you're thinking about over and over again, that influences your emotions. And so one of the ways that you can decenter a guy while being in a relationship is to get out of emotional thinking all the time and to have logical thinking. So one of the ways you can do that is by having your own separate savings account that he can't touch, because in the event that he does something bad or, the relationship goes south, you want to have money to be able to get out of that relationship. One of the worst parts of a hypergamous relationship is that if that man makes all the money and you don't have a means of escape, he gets to dangle homelessness in your face. And he knows that like you're basically just living there and being a housewife, almost working for housing. You're exchanging your domestic labor so that he can pay your rent. So he knows that you're in a work for housing situation with him. And so a lot of men will use that power dynamic to their advantage. And then for the 50-50 women, the disadvantage of that is that your relationship could become hypogamous. That's number one. So, like, let's say you get a promotion at work and he doesn't get a promotion. Now you're the one making most of the money. If you're doing it to where you're each putting in 50% of your incomes, if you make 100K, now you're putting in $50,000 to the joint account. And let's say he makes 50K, he's only putting in 25K. So that's a disadvantage of the 50-50 marriage. So one of the ways that you can go on a decentering journey is to make sure that you're making the best decision for yourself financially, and making sure that you're not getting into a relationship and making all these financial decisions that you don't want to make. Because has anyone noticed that a lot of men, they only purchase houses when they have a woman contributing to the down payment? So this is something that a lot of people don't tell you. Like, a lot of the customers, when they buy homes, oftentimes it's some sort of couple, like boyfriend, girlfriend, or fiance, or they're a married couple buying the home. There are more single women buying homes versus single men. And this is because a lot of women don't realize that men can sometimes end up financially using women to build himself up. So it's like, now that he has access to your income, he has an asset on his own name now, an asset that he didn't have before. So one of the ways you can decenter men while you're in a relationship is to stop doing things on his timeline. If you don't feel comfortable with whatever he's proposing to you, then don't do it. And another thing is, you're going to have to communicate what your needs are and be willing to walk if he doesn't meet those needs. So if you don't want to go 50-50 and he does, you have to be willing to walk away from that. And that's a form of decentering. It's no longer having a fear of loss when it comes to that man. It's no longer having a fear of losing him. A lot of women, we have the tendency to lose our identities once we get into these relationships. And so it's very easy to start just following along with whatever he does because you're hoping to keep the peace, or maybe he makes all this money and you don't want to lose him. But a part of the decentering men journey is having an abundance mindset, knowing that there's always another guy out there that will be interested in you, or being comfortable with being single. Another way you can decenter men while you are in a relationship is to prioritize your happiness. Invest in yourself first. So if you have any personal goals that you want to achieve before you get married, then do those personal goals and don't give up your personal dreams so that you can be married to a man. Because I've noticed that a lot of women have been held back in their careers because they allowed a man to convince her to, like, marry him and have his kids and stuff. So there are women without degrees today because of a relationship. There are women without businesses because of a relationship. So a part of decentering him while you're with him is to continue to invest in yourself and put yourself first, and don't give up on your goals. Because when it comes to your career is not going to wake up in 50 years and say, oh, I don't love you anymore. You're no longer attractive to me. You've gained weight. Your passions aren't going to say that to you, but a man might say that to you. Men are very fickle. Remember that all it takes sometimes for a man to leave you or cheat is a couple of extra pounds, or a couple of gray hairs, or you having a baby and your stomach's not snapping back as fast as it should. So investing in yourself, it's not about trying to be selfish or bash a guy or anything. It's just about protecting yourself, protecting your energy, protecting your dreams and your passions. You know how, like, some religious people, they say you should guard your heart? I consider this a way of guarding your heart. It's guarding your dreams, guarding your own goals. One thing that I've noticed is that a lot of women in long-term relationships tend to gain happy weight, and they call it happy weight, but I don't call it happy weight, because it's like, you should still be wanting to be your best self, just in general. Like, I've noticed that a lot of women will get into these long-term relationships and they will start to kind of fall back on their dreams. Maybe their ambition will start to go away because they feel like, well, this was my ultimate goal, was to get married, and so now I'm done. And this is what can cause, like, the weight gain, or like the woman letting herself go, because on a subconscious level, she was male centered. And so all of the things that she used to do when she was single, all of that self-care she used to do, all of those little hair masks she used to make and stuff, all of those hobbies she used to have, she lost that when she got into this long-term relationship, because she was gradually losing her identity as time went on. And so going on a decentering man journey will help you to not lose your identity in the relationship, because you're still checking in with yourself every day. You're saying, hey, what am I doing right now to make my reality better outside of him? Like, whether he was here or not, what am I doing to make my reality better? Because something else that people don't think about is widowhood. You don't know if your boyfriend or husband is going to be here tomorrow. There's no guarantee that he's going to be in your life over the next 5 or 10 years. He could be cheating on you right now. So you don't know that he is guaranteed to stay anyway, whether you're married or not. I know that people like to say that marriage is like automatically more stable. I don't always think that's the case. I think it just kind of depends on the couple. But just because you're married or he's your boyfriend, it doesn't mean he's going to be here. Sometimes things happen, and so you want to make sure that you still have a good life outside of him. Another way you can decenter men while in a relationship is not letting go of your female friendships. That's a mistake that I used to make. I would naturally kind of fall off from my friends because I would be spending all of my free time with my boyfriend. And then when that relationship ended, now it's like not only do you not have a boyfriend or a husband, but now you have no friends, or you're estranged from your children because you were a pick-me mother and you allowed your husband to mistreat them. So now you don't have your children anymore. So you've literally sacrificed 5, 6, 7, or 8 loving, healthy relationships, all for this man who ended up leaving you in the end, or he ended up cheating on you or something, or you had to leave him. So that's a mistake that I've made in the past. And a part of the decentering men journey for me is when I am in a relationship, or if I'm in a relationship, it's not like devaluing my other relationships. I don't want to devalue my friends. I don't want to devalue my family members in favor of this man who just got here, who may not be here in 10 years. Because I can think of like 10 or 15 girlfriends that I've had for over a decade. Not one man has ever been in my life for more than a decade, other than my father and brothers. So a lot of relationships, first of all, there's about a 70% breakup rate, just so you know. So whoever you're with right now, there's around a 70% chance that you guys will break up. If you are married right now, there's about a 50% chance that it's going to eventually end in a divorce. And I'm not saying that to scare you. I'm just saying that to help remind you to keep your identity. This is not about like me trying to instill fear in you or me trying to like bash men. It's about women protecting themselves. That's what the whole decentering men thing is supposed to be about. Another thing that I have done when it comes to decentered relationships is focusing on being fun and playful. I've noticed that sometimes if you are in a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, you're engaged, or even if you're married, it's easy to start stressing out about every little thing. And I guess this kind of depends on the guy you're with, or it kind of depends on your situation. But one thing that you can do, though, is try to just focus on how you can have fun and how you can enjoy yourself. And then it's like, if it's no longer enjoyable, just don't be in it. Because why would I stay in a situation where it's going to make me unhappy for the next 80 years? Like, no, I'm not going to. Part of the decentering men journey for me is about only dealing with a guy if it is fun and beneficial for myself. And then if it's not, like if I am not into him, or if he's giving like abuse vibes or something like that, or cheater vibes, then to just not be in it. Because another thing that I've learned is like, I don't want to be around energy vampires. I don't want to be around emotional vampires. And sometimes I feel like the more seriously you take a relationship and the more you put it on a pedestal, the more emotional labor you end up doing. Another way that you can go on a decentering men journey while you're in a relationship is to not self-sacrifice. You don't have to abandon yourself in order to help him. So if you don't have the emotional strength to do a certain task, or if you don't have the money to pay for something, because I have noticed that sometimes guys will start off being providers, and then once they get into the marriage, then suddenly they want to turn it into 50-50 or something. So you don't have to self-sacrifice or abandon your own personal standards in order to keep a man in your life. That is still a form of decentering men, because you're decentering the bad things that come along with dealing with men. Another thing I've touched on is having an emergency fund, having your own money that only you have access to. This could be an investment account of some sort, or some sort of additional savings that your boyfriend or husband or fiance, that he doesn't know about. That's a form of decentering him, because you are not putting your entire financial future in his hands. Because sometimes men, they have a midlife crisis or they do something to where they spend a whole bunch of money and maybe you have to break up or something. So it's always good to have your own emergency fund. And also, you do want to keep a stream of income. I actually recommend having multiple streams of income, but you do want to make sure that you have some income. So just in case he passes away or just in case like you have to break up for some reason, then you're not worried about, oh crap, I was living off of his allowance or I was living off whatever scraps he gave me in terms of money. Another thing is you can ask that boyfriend, like you can utilize his skills to your advantage. So, for example, let's say your boyfriend is really good at investing. He can teach you how to invest because you're utilizing his skills. Let's say he's really good at accounting or owning a business, or he just has special things about himself that can help you out. That's something that's it's still a form of decentering men because instead of you just building him, he is also building you. So, fun fact, my Patreon actually would not even exist if it were not for my boyfriend that I had begun dating when I was on this YouTube channel. So sometimes guys have different business skills or investing skills, or maybe they have like experience with a startup and they know how to do it. They know how to do all the paperwork and stuff. And so you can utilize his skills to your advantage. Or something you can do is like, let's say it's your birthday or Christmas is coming up. You can ask for something that is going to help you to gain an income. So maybe a laptop. Like I've had an ex in the past before that where I had a laptop and again, I wouldn't have this YouTube channel if it weren't for me getting that laptop. So I would say also be strategic with the types of gifts that you ask for from your boyfriend or fiance. Another thing you can do when it comes to decentering men in your relationship is to stop protecting his ego. So I notice one area where a lot of girls do this is in terms of sex. If you are not satisfied with the sex, you have to voice that in the relationship. I've noticed a lot of women will fake orgasms and like basically they're not getting anything out of the relationship, especially if you're like paying bills and shit. So it's like, okay, you're not even having orgasms. You don't have strong boundaries. Those are different ways that you can begin to decenter him. It's by being honest and truthful about what you want in terms of sex and also setting firm boundaries. Like, I am not going to be with a guy who's texting his ex or who is subscribing to OnlyFans creators or using money to pay for sex workers and all that. I feel like a lot of women who drop their boundaries, they do that because they're being male centered. So they value a relationship with a man above their own mental health. Another thing that you can do is play around with mystery and keep secrets. When I say keep secrets, I'm not saying it has to be some sort of toxic thing, but like, I guess sometimes I feel like women who are in these relationships, they almost get too comfortable. And so they stop investing in themselves. They stop being the person that they were, that this guy like fell in love with or whatever. A lot of women will gradually turn into that man's mother. And so oftentimes if a man, like if all he does is see you like in your bonnet doing dishes and stuff like that, I do feel like for some women, number one, they lose their identity. Number two, they stop investing in their beauty. And then number three, there's no sense of mystery and excitement in their relationships. So of course, this advice is kind of only for healthy relationships, not for like an unhealthy one. But let's say you're in a relationship with that guy and you actually like it, or you guys are compatible or whatever. One thing that I've heard a lot of the hypergamous content creators talk about is that concept of still maintaining mystery to the point where it's like you don't have to do every single thing together. You don't have to share every single hobby together. You still have your own life outside of him. You still have your own beauty hobbies that you're doing just for yourself because your pretty privilege is not relationship centered. Your pretty privilege is something that you are doing for yourself regardless of whether you are with him or not. And hopefully if you have a guy you're compatible with, then he will appreciate that. I've also noticed that a lot of women in relationships, they stop going on girls' trips. They stop like having their own lives and they're almost following their boyfriend around like a puppy dog. And it's like, you're not even allowing him time to miss you. You're not allowing him time to want to be in your presence because you're just all up under him, just following him. This is why sometimes I have a problem with the concept of submission because I feel like a lot of people use that term to basically turn the woman into a doormat or almost like this puppy dog where she's just following that guy around the whole entire time. And so one of the ways you can decenter your relationship is by maintaining your own autonomy, not being so codependent on him to where it's like, you can't go hiking unless he goes hiking. You can't go to the coffee shop unless he wants to go. You can't travel unless he wants to travel with you. It's about still having your own sense of identity and still having your own life, because I've noticed a lot of women become unhappy over time because they gradually start to lose their dreams. They start to lose themselves. And then even when it comes to the amount of time they spend on themselves, it almost declines because they're spending all their time cooking and cleaning. And it's like, if that's not what you wanted to do, then tell him to get a maid. Tell him to get a person to help you guys clean, or he can clean himself. But I have noticed that part of the reason why some women lose their identities in relationships is because they will randomly take on these domestic responsibilities that they didn't have to take on. A part of decentering men for me, it means finding things that matter to you more than desirability to a man. It means finding things in your life that matter to you more than sex, more than having a boyfriend. I would hope that you have fulfilling passions and hobbies and things that you're doing that really bring you joy, so that you're not putting all of your emotional energy just into the relationship, because that's also putting a lot of pressure on your partner as well. Like, I wouldn't want to be with a guy that centers me. I don't want a guy to just follow me around like a puppy dog. That actually sounds cringy to me, but I see a lot of women doing that with guys. And by the way, one of the lies that we tell ourselves as women is that you don't need to be beautiful because you already have a boyfriend. That is false. There's actually a psychology article that talks about how women who are pretty privileged or women who are attractive, they have more power in their households. And so part of why I talk about pretty privilege is because, remember, beauty is social power. So you do want to maintain your social power or even make it go up, even in your relationship. Pretty privilege exists even when you are with your boyfriend. I'm not trying to say that pretty privilege will prevent a guy from mistreating you, but the halo effect is a real thing. And so who better to utilize your pretty privilege on than your relationship? I don't want you to become obsessed with it though, but it is important to maintain your attractiveness, because how attractive you are, that does affect how a man treats you, that does affect how your partner treats you. And so you do want to maintain your beauty. And I would hope that your man loves and values you enough to want to invest in your beauty as well. So this is why, for me, you guys know that I am very pro beauty enhancements. I feel like it's your body. You can do what you want with it, even if that includes getting a facelift if you're old, or getting lipo or something if you need to. Like, I'm going to continue leveling myself up, whether I'm single, whether I'm in a relationship, it doesn't matter. I'm leveling myself up because beauty is a form of social power. So one of the ways that you can practice decentering men is by actually keeping your social power over them via your pretty privilege. Some women also use this via sex. Like, they will use sex as a bargaining tool. So I've seen some women do that as well. I don't know what kinds of relationships you guys are in, whether it's boyfriend, girlfriend, or married. But some women do that. I personally don't tend to use sex as a bargaining tool, because my thing is like, if I don't want to have sex, I'm not having sex. Like, I don't really care. But one mistake that a lot of women will make when it comes to their personal pretty privilege is that they will stop leveling up their looks because their husband will say, but I like you with no makeup, but I don't care if you gain 50 pounds, but I think you look cute with the gray hair. And he may not be lying. I mean, maybe you do look good with gray hair, but if that's not how you want to look, never center your looks around a man. Like, always look how you feel most confident. So if you do not feel the most confident with all of your gray hair showing, then do not keep the gray hair, regardless of what that man says. Because I would hope that if he truly values you, that he would want you to be happy. And so one mistake a lot of women make is they will level down in their appearance. They will gain weight, they'll become fat, or maybe they'll get stressed out from the relationship, or they won't keep saving up their personal money to get the surgeries or beauty enhancements that they want. Maybe you've always wanted some dental work, or maybe you want him to fund that, or you want him to pay for that. Okay, so keep on doing those things, because also, like I said, there's a 50% chance of divorce if you are married, and there's like a 70% chance if you are unmarried. There's about a 70% chance of him leaving. And so you don't want him to leave or he passes away or something. And now you are leveled down in appearance, and now you have to go on a year-long journey of losing weight, or you have to save up thousands of dollars to get lipo and stuff like that. So you don't want to do that. You want to continue your level up journey for you. Also, a lot of men tend to dislike the idea of a woman changing her looks, but if you do that change, like let's say you change your hair color, usually they will still accept it even after it's done. So definitely don't listen to men when it comes to your own beauty, because you know your face the best, you know your body the best. So let's say you just had a kid or something and you want to get a mommy makeover. I suggest that you still do that, because I'm hoping that you're doing those things for you and not just for your man. But I do think that pretty privilege does work in relationships. I think that oftentimes when a man says things like, I'm not in love with you anymore, or he suddenly doesn't want to provide anymore, I do believe that sometimes it could have to do with him like losing attraction to her, which is really stupid. I honestly think you should leave. But I know that there are some women out there, maybe they're hypergamous or for whatever reason they want to work on themselves. This is why you never want to level down when you're in a relationship anyway. Because think about it, would you want to be around a guy who is leveled down, or a guy who is leveling down? Like let's say he's leveled down financially, or he started off really high up doing really well when you met him, and then he like goes downhill as you're with him. No, like you wouldn't want to be around that either. So I would hope that regardless of your relationship status, that you're always leveling yourself up and prioritizing yourself. And oftentimes when men speak against beauty enhancements, it's really that they just hate the idea of other men looking at you, and they just they don't like the cost sometimes, but it's like that's actually valuable for you. And I know some of you might think, oh, that's being a pick-me for your boyfriend or whatever, and it's like, no, because even if that guy cheats on you, leaves you, etc., you still got your tummy tuck, you still got your boob job, you still are going to go out into the world with your social power, as opposed to your relationship ended and now you're like leveled down. Another thing that I've seen girls do is they will utilize their beauty in a relationship. They'll keep their beauty hobbies, and then they will get dressed up, and then they will have their boyfriend or husband do a photo shoot for them, and then those women will post those pictures to Instagram, and they will then be able to get good Instagram brand deals and opportunities based on them maintaining their beauty. They have someone with them who knows how to take good pictures. Well, I would hope that if you are with a guy that he finds you attractive and he kind of knows what angle you look good at, or let's say he has photography skills. I've heard of girls utilizing that skill to their advantage by getting their boyfriend to like take their pictures with his camera or something. And then those women have those beautiful photos of themselves. They will edit those photos and they will post them on their Instagram. And that way, even after that guy is gone, like even if he leaves you, you still have some cute ass pics for your Instagram, or you can use those pictures to make yourself the face of your business. That's what I'm talking about when I say decentering the man himself and still prioritizing filling your own needs or getting your needs met or utilizing his skills to your advantage. Because remember, he's utilizing your skills to his advantage. All that laundry you're doing, all the cleaning you're doing, the cooking you're doing, the sex you're giving him, the emotional support you're giving him, those things are skills that have to be cultivated. Your conflict resolution skills, he's using your skills to his advantage, so use his skills to your advantage. But anyway, those are some of my thoughts on starting a decentering journey while you're in a relationship. Are you in a relationship right now? And if so, what are you doing to make sure that you are not revolving your whole identity around that guy? What do you ladies think? Let me know in the comment section, and I'll talk to you next time. Stay pretty, ladies.